Well, I know a lot of people are pretty excited about Robert Downey Jr. bringing Dr. Doom to life, but some recent reports seem to indicate this movie will be a lot different than what many are expecting. Let's take a couple minutes to talk about the production report, when it's going to kick off, who's going to be on set, because that's the big reveal, and what it indicates this movie really will be about. Well, I think the biggest surprise of the whole year from Marvel Studios was when at Comic-Con it was revealed that not only will the Russo brothers return to the MCU to direct the next two Avengers films, but Robert Downey Jr. himself is returning as Victor Von Doom. Now, since then, there have been a boatload of questions, most of which have been really hard to get answers to. But now we've got a new report from Hollywood insider Daniel RPK, and not only does he give us a lot of ideas about the production, but it pretty much frames out the kind of story I suspect we're going to get. Now, like we always like to say, this isn't coming from Kevin Feige or Marvel Studios, so we want to take it with a grain of salt. But Dan's got a great record, doesn't hide behind anonymity, and all of this makes so much sense, it's almost a dull moment. Now, there are a ton of new details here, and just in case you don't want to have this spoiled, this is your chance to click away. Now, according to Dan, this film is set to kick off production in March of 2025, about 5 months from today. Now, the entire production is expected to take around 5 months, which is atypical for many movies of this size. But this is where the whole report starts to get a little bit more interesting. Now, according to Dan, Robert Downey Jr. will be filming for about 3 of those months, which for a primary part isn't unusual. But what is unusual is the main cast of the film is only going to be on set to film for 1 month, with the supporting cast on set to film for about 1 or 2 weeks. Now, this fills up that 5-month time frame pretty good and allows for a lot of things like set alterations and costume changes and various details of production that are typical of a movie of this size. But to me, the big takeaway is that Robert Downey Jr. is filming for 3 months with most of the rest of the cast only there a month. Now, this seems to answer some of the huge questions we've all had moving forward. The introduction of Dr. Doom to replace Kang, well, even though we were kind of all talking about it, it's a huge move for Marvel Studios and a major change. And given that we haven't met Dr. Doom as of today, well, I think this movie is going to be the big introduction. Now, obviously, it's the first time Robert Downey Jr. shows up as the character, but when I say introduction, what I really do feel at this moment is a large portion of this film, maybe even the first act, will be 100% an origin story for Dr. Doom. Now, this is really key to get, because Doom's motivations, although he is an evil character, well, from a logical perspective, make a ton of sense. The character's comic book history includes his mother being kidnapped by Mephisto, which is why he develops both his magical and his technology skills initially in an attempt to save his mother. I have to wonder if Pedro Pascal will somehow be part of this project, allowing us to catch up with the two characters in college and ultimately seeing him get his mask and become the villain we know today. Now, one interesting thing about Dr. Doom that's very similar to Tony Stark in Age of Ultron is he believes he is actually the only person that can save the Earth, and that basically all these costume do-gooders are going to get us all killed, and he is the only one that can stop them. Now, we are hearing a lot of other rumors that are unsubstantiated at this point, most of them coming from My Time to Shine Hello, who has released a deluge of stuff in the last week, much of it contradicting. Now, one of the things he said about this movie that hasn't been confirmed is that the Scarlet Witch will be his love interest, and that this movie will actually set up Children's Crusade, which is a comic storyline with Doom and Wanda in love. Now, given that Billy Kaplan was just revealed in last week's Agatha, you can kind of see how many of these plot details come together, but I am not fully convinced about the return of the Scarlet Witch as Doom's love interest, since many fans, well, at this point, kind of want to see her return to the more standard part of the MCU, and pairing her up with another villain, well, that makes it even harder. I do suppose the Scarlet Witch could take a role very similar to Sue Storm in the 2015 comics, where she became the unwitting bride of Victor Von Doom, but given that the Fantastic Four is already part of this movie, that really doesn't land in the same way. Now, all in all, I'm not against an origin story for Doom setting up the big Secret Wars event. I will say this, if Marvel is able to basically introduce Doom in one movie and have the big payoff in another, I have to wonder if Kevin Feige and team need to sort of rethink how the phases work and how much seeding for each project is really necessary. In any case, I am one of the people who is excited about Doctor Doom and what Robert Downey Jr. will bring to the role. Marvel needs to get this one right. Doom is literally their most iconic villain, and I do feel like they're taking some chances here. It's unclear right now if RDJ will carry the character into the future, but his part in the 2015 Secret Wars was so epic, and there's so much to see there, I absolutely can't wait. The only thing I've got to have is the Thor core, but that's for a different video. Now, before you take off, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, ring that bell for all the updates, and make sure you get every notification because we do daily Marvel and DC content and we don't want you to miss any news.